the one thing you wish everyone around you knew about getting divorced?
Everyone always prepares you that whenever you're going through a divorce, losing your husband or wife, you go through a grieving process, grieving for the loss of your marriage, the loss of your hopes and dreams together. But one thing that they really don't prepare you for is the loss of a friend, the loss of your best friend, the person that you always wanted to tell your day and to tell, your small wins and your small victories. And I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for feeling that way, even when you're not together and haven't been together. Just having that desire to have them as a friend again.
Yeah, it's not a good world, is it? I mean, people are getting beaten for not being a certain demographic. People are forcing their stupid, idiotic views on you. And if you don't go along with it or believe it, you're the stupid one. And you're ostracised and exiled by popular demand. I mean, look at all the conflict that's going on in the world at the moment. Look at what's happening in the Ukraine. All that pain and suffering. What for? Yeah, it's not a good world. Hey, I heard that in the 1980s, the world was such a good place that you could mosey on over to your neighbour, knock on the door and say, "Miss Johnson, can I borrow a cup of brown sugar?" And she'd give you a cup of brown sugar. And if you're lucky, she'd give you a whole lot more than that. Oh, memories. I heard that in the 1990s, that was the last decade where you could go to school, then go to university, graduate, get a job, even if it's for somebody else, work to the bone, put the hours in, and you'd be a millionaire. Yeah, it's not going to happen today, is it? Yeah, it's a bad world. You know what I think? I think that if you could sculpt out a little section of this world, call it paradise, call it your own, call it home. You could meet somebody, fall in love, get married, have 2.4 children, get a car, make sure it's a V8, otherwise you ain't got a car. Then you're good. That's precious. You know what else is precious? Time. Time is the one commodity that no matter how much money you throw at it, you can't get any more. No matter how much effort you expend, you're not going to get any more. So it goes without reason, doesn't it, to suggest that with the little time that you do have, why not make it a good time? So what does society tell men to do to have a good time? They say, buy cars, modify cars, fight, go to gym, have beers, go out with your friends, chase girls. Notice I said chasing, not catching. So what does society tell women to do to have a good time? Go girl nights out, girl holidays, socialise, post thirsty pictures on Instagram to get loads of likes and comments and validation. Get as many things as possible for free, because let's face it, that's your privilege. You can do that, and men can't really do that. Free dinners, free gifts, money, free access to yachts, to VIP, the list goes on. So, whenever the body does something good, it rewards itself with the release of certain hormones, endorphins, serotonin and dopamine, yada yada yada, there's more. But we're going to specifically concentrate on dopamine today. Did you know that the biggest rush of dopamine that you can get is when a man and a woman copulate? Yeah, when they bump uglies, that's the biggest rush of dopamines that you can get. Now the dopamine, we experience this from dopamine receptors in our brain, where the dopamine attaches to said receptors and we experience euphoria, feel good on an unparalleled sensation. It's absolutely awesome. You must have been in love before. You're them butterflies when you first meet somebody and you just can't stop thinking and talking about them, and it just goes dopamine. But wait, there's a problem. Too much dopamine, too many times, and you become less sensitive to it. Like a drug addict that has a certain type of drug and he keeps taking it and he doesn't get that high anymore and he's always chasing the high. After a while, they refer to it socially as being fried. Your receptors become fried. Okay, let's continue and wander down this little avenue of this thought experiment that we're having at the moment. It seems that driving a car may release endorphins, serotonin, dopamine. Building things, creating things, playing computer games, but none of those are actually to do with pair bonding, and a lot of those are actually individual kind of pursuits. So let's talk about something more social, something that you'll do with something else. Let's say, for example, posting pictures on Instagram for likes and attention releases dopamine. Let's talk about promiscuous behaviour. It seems that sleeping with people will lessen the effect that dopamine has and also lessen the amount of dopamine that's released. Therefore, enhancing the probability of being unable to pair bond. Remember before when I said one of the guy's pursuits is chasing women? Notice how I said chasing, not catching. Because let's just tell it as it is. Sex is a hell of a lot more available to women than there is to men. You ask the average woman outside and she'll tell you that most men are ugly. If you ask the average woman on the road, do we need men? They'll say no. It seems that most men to modern women appear invisible, that they only want the creme de la creme, the best of the best. So we know this from society that if a woman was to go out, for example, if a woman was standing at a bus stop and every car that went past she put out her hand, the car would probably stop. It probably wouldn't stop for a guy, it'd carry on going, but it'd probably stop for a woman. If a woman stopped 100 cars and said to the guy who was sitting as a sole occupant in the car, "Hi, I live just behind here upstairs, would you like to come inside and have sex with me?" A lot of those guys would say yes. I would hazard 60-70%. If a man was standing at a bus stop and put his hand out, okay, you would have to be there for about 2 weeks for 100 cars to stop. But if 100 cars stopped and it was a sole occupant, was a woman, he said to the woman, "Hi, I live just behind, would you like to come upstairs and have sex with me?" I doubt that even two would do it. Ergo, sex is a hell of a lot more available to women than it is to men. And, don't take it from me, have a little look on social media and see who the most promiscuous of society are today. So with all that in mind, the more partners a woman has, the less probability she has to pair bond with a man. Maybe that's why men are concerned with body count. Okay, remember that little section I referred to before, paradise? Home. Let's talk about home. Enter marriage. You got this couple. They've been in their youth. They've got 2.4 children, a V8 car, and they've been together for a while. They're married. Now, the both of them go through life, and the guy is able to still get his hits from dopamine. He's able to drive his V8 car. He can drop his wife off to work. He can pick her up. He can just go for his general drive. He'll go to the gym. He'll have his mates round at the house. He'll sit there. They'll talk about whatever. Maybe he's got a man cave in the side of the house or something, got a room upstairs. And he's chilling. He's getting his little hits of dopamine. He's making his money. He's providing. And providing and protecting is also a dopamine hit for men too. So he's able to do all these things. So he's still good. He's still good. Plus, he gets to bump uglies with his wife as well. Awesome. So what does she do? She gets her dopamine hits from, I was going to say going out with the friends, but yeah, okay, going out with the friends, posting pictures on Instagram. Oh, no, so she can't do that anymore because that's quite detrimental to your marriage, isn't it? Why would you want to post half-naked pictures on Instagram and get loads of likes and comments and everything? Sure, it's not going to look good in the family, is it? She can be promiscuous and go out to, oh no, she can't be promiscuous and go out because she's now married. Okay, I'll come back to this point in a second. I'd like to illustrate something. You know when you meet somebody and you get butterflies and you can't stop talking about them, they're always on their mind, and you're always having sex all the time, 24/7. You cannot keep your hands off each other. It's absolutely amazing. This is what you call the butterfly phase, and I keep hearing about this and I keep seeing it on social media. Women fall out of men, they fall out of love with men, they get divorces, they break up because they're no longer in that butterfly phase. But what you fail to realise is that the butterfly phase is exactly as stated. It's a phase. What comes after the phase? Familiarity, predictability, genuinely getting to know each other, shared experiences, children. All of these things are a hell of a lot more precious and better than the butterfly feeling. But like a drug addict, the dopamine hit is missed. So what happens? The woman will put up with it. She'll persevere. I'm not going to say she's going to cheat and she's going to do this, that and the other. We're not going down that road. This is a regular, everyday, normal woman, right? So she'll put up with it. And then one day comes when she gets to 45 and she's listening to her friends and she's on social media, she's flicking on all these TikTok stories and everything else, and she's seeing the great and wonderful life that other women are having, and she's got serious FOMO, serious fear of missing out. She's missing out. And you come home and you provide this, you pay for this, and you come home and your 45-year-old ass crawls into the bed and sits there and she's just looking at you, but she's got this resentment for you. Not that she really truly hates you, but she has resentment for you because you are what is stopping her from going outside and getting these hits of dopamine. So eventually, she talks to her friends, and again, let's face it, you'll give each other some seriously bad advice. Really bad. You need to work that out. But they'll go see friends, and the friends, if they're single, will tell her, get rid of him, look at you. You're beautiful. You don't need a man. You're a strong, independent woman. Blah, 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 blah. If she's married, like I said, a lot of women give each other really bad advice. I've read, seen, heard, witnessed times when women have told other women who are married, just for the slightest little problem, to divorce the husband, to leave the husband, and to start executing all of these strange, weird mind games, just because the guy didn't cook dinner this one day, but he usually does, and do this to him, do that to him, and I'm thinking, what the hell? This is not the advice that you give to a married woman. But anyway, the woman will eventually succumb to her dopamine desires. She'll succumb to her friends. She'll succumb to the echo chamber. And I'm seeing an overwhelming, a ridiculous amount of these videos of women who are in their 40s who have divorced their men.
She decided to divorce her husband. You know, she was a stay-at-home mom. You know, they had a new kid. And she openly says, I know I kept like asking a lot of him because he, you know, he was the primary breadwinner, but she wanted more help at home with the kid. And she's nagging and it's just getting worse. And then she just says, you know what, I want a divorce. He tries to make it work. And then it's done. She at least gets the house. She gets a kid. But now, as time rolls on, he gets remarried. You know, she's in her 40s. He remarries a girl in her 30s or whatever. And now she doesn't have the fine body that she used to have X amount of years ago. And he's happy. They have a new kid. And now her own kid don't want to be at home no more. He want to go to daddy's house because it's so much fun over there.
Damn.
Look.
This is
And
crazy.
now she says, I'm alone. I'm miserable. I only have short-term relationships.
You just getting teeny.
Divorce my husband. Why did I divorce my husband? I divorced my husband because I was making a certain amount of money. I divorced my husband because I thought I didn't need him anymore. I divorced my husband because I had this senior position at work and thought I held the same position at home. I divorced my husband because I thought I was better than him because I had my degree now. I divorced my husband because I thought a successful marriage meant I was here and he was down here. That is not success. That's fucking sickness. All the while, my husband done found somebody else building a relationship and building a life with them.
A woman shared her regrets about not working harder to save her marriage now that her ex-husband is happily remarried. The 41-year-old woman shared to the True Off My Chest subreddit that she left her husband around 10 years ago, shortly after they'd had their first child together. According to this woman, there were no major issues in the marriage. She was a stay-at-home mom and had her husband wrapped around her finger. He did whatever she said, and she burned him out. When he grew tired of her demands, she started threatening divorce. She thought she was still a great catch and that she could do better than her husband, so she left. She ended up getting joint custody of her son and the house after the divorce. Now, 10 years later, the ex-husband is happily remarried with a baby daughter and a new house. The divorced woman, on the other hand, has been unmarried ever since. She's jealous of her ex-husband's new wife, saying, "She took my husband, she took my kid, she took my life that was once mine, and now I live in an empty house." She claims she is alone and miserable and wishes she would have been a better wife 10 years ago so she wouldn't be in this situation. As you can probably imagine, not many people were very sympathetic towards this woman. "You got what you deserved and he got what he deserved," one Redditor commented. Others noted that the new wife didn't take anything from her, with one saying, "You gave it away."
If I had different people in my ear at that time, I would not have made that decision. No.
Wow. Single women keeping women single.
All of my friends who prioritized having kids in their 20s are all now single moms at 40 and divorced. I got so many of these comments on my last video, so I'm going to touch on it now. Disregarding exceptional reasons such as real abuse, the fact is 80% of women are the ones ending marriages, 90% if they have a degree. Now, I've known about this statistic way before Jordan Peterson started popping off, and unfortunately it was due to my own research because I saw how many of my female friends were leaving their husbands. I'm very tired of this victim mentality that has manifested within the female realm. It is hard for me to have empathy for single divorced moms when 90% of the time they are at fault for it. It is completely self-inflicted. I'm also coming from a place of self-critique because, believe it or not, just like every woman in America, I have succumbed to some of those thoughts. But we listen to social media and mass media and we tell ourselves that there's someone else there that's going to treat us even better, and we neglect the other party, which is our husbands, and then all the children that are involved as well. Oh, but let's not forget the vows you took. You cannot discredit my theory of prioritizing a family first and then working on a career, all because you have women that fall in that 90% category that left their husbands. Now just wait for this comment section to blow up on all the women that tell me they are the exception, that 90% are leaving because the men are so terrible.
I'm so mad that I think this way. I could have stayed. My life would have been so much easier. But I had a huge house and all my bills were paid for, and I never had to think how they were going to get paid. My grass was cut, well, not the last year of separation. But you know what I mean? All the basic things that keep the image up. And I gave up my entire image that I was trained to have for my family for 23 years. Like, I was the stay-at-home mom, and I made the image of we were the perfect family. I have beautiful children. They were dressed right. They, did top sports like cheer and football and went to all that stuff. And I was, the cheer mom and, did all that stuff and then did photography on the side just to make money, to make ends meet while he built his career up. And I stayed long enough to just give it all up when it was like right there.
But when you actually look at the reasons of why they divorced the men, it's for something stupid. Now, you can always tell when a lady says something that she doesn't really have an excuse for, or it's a bit stupid, because she'll always say something completely nonsensical, and she might even use one or two of the buzzwords that are going around today. I left them because I needed someone who was more emotionally mature. I had to find myself. I just didn't have the butterflies. He didn't do anything wrong. I just stopped being physically attracted to him, This woman's 45 years of age and she's got children. So I'm not going to go down the road of the man being responsible, because obviously we know quite well that there can be a bunch of men out there that are idiots. But as women initiate 80% of divorces, and I think of the 7 excuses, only physicality, like assault, comes in at about number 6 or 5. So there's all these ridiculous amounts of excuses that come beforehand. So now, the children are heartbroken. This woman has now destroyed that lovely piece of paradise, that home that we referred to earlier. She'll in all probability take the children with her and disappear and move. But there are an extreme amount of cases where the husband has kept the children. I can only surmise in a situation like that, the woman has really gone deep in dopamine things that she wants to leave and she doesn't want the children to be in her way as she pursues her other life, because obviously she's been told by friends and everything else that you can get somebody better than him. You'll also notice on these videos, they'll always say that the guy was a good guy and never did anything wrong. Nice guys always get bummed. Have you noticed that? Any prison film that you watch on TV and someone's getting bummed, I bet you it's a nice guy pushing back like that, saying, no, too deep, too deep. It's a nice guy. Nice guys always get it in the back. I don't know what the problem is. So, this woman is now out. She's got her own place. She's set up. She's listened to the advice of her friends, and she's now embracing her new single life. So the first thing she goes and does is goes and register on a dating site. Now, when she registers on a dating site, you got to remember those places. They're not good places. They're really not good places. Because all the guys on there are bitter because they've been taken the mick out of by women. Okay? I'm not saying the women are bad, but it's your privilege. There are double standards. But one of the good advantages for one of your double standards is the fact that men will generally pay for everything. So you get a lot of women out there who will go out with a guy on a date, go out for dinner, go out for drinks, and the guy will pay for it. After that, ghost. Done. There are a lot of women out there who go out and get that done to them too. Not the money being spent on them, but the guy will ghost. But ask yourself, why is that? I mean, what are your pictures like? Are you using filters? Are you using makeup? Are you actually the person that turns up? I know, guys can be guilty of that too, but nowhere near as much. Stop it. So she goes on these dating sites and she has a whole host of terrible experiences. She will go out with a guy, and because she's feeling she needs that dopamine, the dopamine hit doesn't really come from having a drink and good night. The majority, the lion's share of that dopamine comes from bumping uglies, from that copulation, you know what I'm saying? So, she'll sleep with a guy. She'll sleep with another one. Another one will ghost her. The first one will ghost her. She'll sleep with somebody else. She'll date somebody else. She'll get a dinner spent on that one, but he's just, God, he's boring. This guy just wants to settle down, and she doesn't know this guy. She doesn't know anything about him. This guy's 48 years of age. He's got grown children. Now she's going to have to think about having a life with this guy, and then are they going to get on with the children and everything else? And no, she ghosts that guy, but it's a valid reason in her head. And you know what else? You're not only going to be on these dating sites competing with other 45-year-old women, you're going to be competing with women in their 30s. You're going to be competing with the women in their late 30s and women who have got high probabilities of wanting children right now. I mean, if he's like 45, 48, something, wherever your age is, if he's successful, if he can provide, if he can protect, if he's got resources and status, his pool is going to be significantly bigger than yours. Come on, do the math. Is a man going to choose a 45-year-old woman who's just come out of a divorce, who's got kids, or is he going to choose a 32-year-old woman, a 35-year-old woman who might have just a young kid or no children? Do the math. And then after a while, she's racked up a double-figure body count. And she's sitting there, she thought, I've never been successful with all of these men. Then she'll start saying to herself, where are all the good men? What's going on? But what you fail to realise is that you had a good man. That man was comfortable and secure. And you'll often hear in these videos, the women will even tell you, there's nothing that this guy done. He done everything right. You see, what's happened there is the woman has confused love for dopamine, love for excitement. She's not excited by the guy, but she's in love with the guy because she can rely on him. They've got a history, they've got shared experiences, there's familiarity, and above all, they have a family together. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway, what the probability and the statistics are for children raised by single mothers. Now, I'm not saying all single mothers are bad. I know a lot of people who are raised by single mothers and they are exceptionally good people, also successful. But statistics don't lie. I'll link some studies underneath and some statistics so you can see for yourself. But if 90% of men who are in prison have came from single mother families, that's a little bit alarming. When you look at the statistics of sex workers, prostitutes, OnlyFans, however you want to call them, the vast overwhelming majority of them come from single mother households. When you compare that figure to households where the men raise the children, the actual figures is only microscopically smaller than when they're raised in a nuclear family. So I'm not going to blatantly say men raise children better than women. I'll leave that for your own conclusion when you read the studies underneath and you do your own research. But what I'm trying to say is that woman has now added a hell of a lot more of probability that her children are not going to grow up on the straight and narrow. There's a bigger possibility now that they could sway, go off this way, go off that way, become criminal, become sex workers. But the woman's known all of this because it's the pain of when they've broken the family in the first place. She now gets a sudden dose of reality and she wants to go back. Should that guy take her back? A friend of mine, when I was in Spain for a while, he introduced me to this concept, this rule, and he said, do not reward bad behaviour. What do I mean by that? Okay, I'll tell you. He's sitting on a bed, his girlfriend's sitting on a bed, and they're planning to go on holiday, and they've got a certain amount of budget that they're saving to go on a holiday. But this particular day, his girlfriend wanted to go out in the town and have a drink. Now that's going to be about, what, €400? It's a significant chunk of the budget that they want to spend for the holiday. The guy says, no, sorry, we're not going. She complains and says, well, I want to go. He says, no, you put me in charge of the financing. You told me to save this money. You told me to budget. I'm doing this and we're going to go on holiday and we're going to go and have a good time. No, you're not going, girls, and wasting the money on drinking everything else. We can do that when we get on holiday and we can do that when we get back. We're not doing it now. She goes crazy. Starts flipping, throwing things about, stomps her feet, starts kicking off. I'm watching all of this and I'm like, oh my God, it's a horrible situation. And I'm like the third wheel there and I can't go, I'm just there witnessing everything and she's starting to be nasty to me. So what do? I go out to the shop, I go and buy a box of chocolates, some chocolates that she likes, some Terry's with its mixture of Turkish delight and all these lovely chocolatey sweets. So I go and buy this box of chocolates. I think it cost me about €30 or something like that because I just wanted to keep the peace, you know. So I'll get it, I bring it back and I give it to her. She looks at me with the biggest, brightest smile in the face, big, juicy eyes and everything else. She thanks me profusely. I sit down and start eating it and everything else. So I say, okay, it's all good. The situation's calmed down. So I then eventually get off and go. Later on, he comes and he joins me. He goes, what do you do that for? And I said, look, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cross any borders. He goes, I'm not bothered about that, but what did you do that for? And I said, well, it was a horrible situation. I felt like the third wheel. I felt like she was being kind of nasty and like dismissive towards me as well. And I don't like drama. And he goes, and sat me down, he goes, never, ever reward bad behaviour. Never reward bad behaviour. I'm thinking, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, she behaved badly, right? Yeah, she did. She wigged out, she kicked, she threw her hands up, she threw things, she shouted, she screamed. Yeah, she behaved like a child, like bad behaviour. He goes, okay, so now that you've just gone and bought her chocolates, what do you think she's going to do next time whenever there's a little bit of a situation or whether she wants something that she can't get it? What do you think she's going to do? And I thought, she's going to wig out because she knows Kate well, she'll get chocolates for it. Exactly. So that's my philosophy. Never reward bad behaviour. Now I'll come back to what I was talking about. This woman who's 45 and has left. I've noticed a lot of women are saying things on social media where I truly do not think that they mean. I don't think that they mean them. For example, you see a bunch of women on the road. Do you need men? No! Do you need men? No! F men! Do you need men? Like a hole in the head.
Do we need men?
No.
Do we need men?
Honestly, no.
Do we need men?
Not always.
Do we need men?
No.
Do we need men?
No.
Why?
They suck.
When I look at these women are laughing saying these things. They're laughing because it's funny. Because I've now started thinking they're not really taking it serious. And you know the way women are very social creatures. They're hive-minded. One woman will give a certain rating for something else, and you'll get an echo of that rating all the way through. You start with this woman over here, and she gets a different rating, you'll get the same echo all the way through that way. Women are like that. They're very hive-minded and they think all together. So it seems to be a trend these days where women are dumping on men, being really, really, really misandrous towards men, and it's funny. So I'm not really sure whether these people are serious or not, especially when they're laughing as well. So these women are coming on the internet and they're saying, I'm 45 and I've divorced my husband and I kind of regret it. I want to go back. And they're laughing about this. I'm sorry, but what's funny about breaking a man's heart who's done nothing but good things for you? That's being the nice guy. That's took it in the back for being a nice guy. That looked after the kids. That comes and sees them all the time. That still provides for you, even though you're not together. What was funny about increasing the probability of your children going off-road, being a little bit more promiscuous, increasing the probability of your child having more of a criminal nature, being more angry, not being able to process their emotions and feelings? What was funny about that? And even further, now that you've just got all of these bodies and everything else on this guy, you definitely 100% have had your dopamine receptors completely fried. So pair bonding with this guy, which you obviously failed to do in the first place, you're definitely not going to be able to do it now. So why are you laughing about this? This is you've destroyed a home and you're laughing. So I say don't reward bad behaviour. So it seems the way the world works, we seem to learn things, whether we like it or not, from previous generations. I mean, that's how we learn things, that's how we predict the future, from history. From doing it before. From seeing somebody else doing it. So I say don't reward bad behaviour. I'm saying that if a man is there and the woman has broke up with him, there's only one reason why she's coming back. She's not coming back because she loves you. Let's be honest about this. Let's be honest about it. She's not coming back because she missed you, because all of this would have been taken into consideration and weighed up before she made such a heinous decision in the first place. She's not coming back because she misses you. She's come back because life is nowhere near as good as when it was with you. She's coming back because she's realised that all her friends have lied to her. She's coming back because the grass is not greener on the other side. And what's she going to do if you take her back and you give her a bunch of chocolates or a big box of chocolates and then some kind of beef happens? What's she going to do? Don't reward bad behaviour. You cannot go back with this woman. The trauma has already been caused with the separation with the children, if you have children. If she's separated, the children have already been traumatised, okay? Let's not risk it doing it again, because in all probability, it could happen again, because you've taken her back, you've rewarded her bad behaviour, okay? She does not respect you. She will not respect you. She cannot respect you. She can't. The children have gone through trauma already, so you need to work that out, okay? You need to have your visits. You need to have the time that you do with each parent, and you need to carry on and go forward. The children will never hate you for this, because they will know, in all fairness, that it was the mother that left you. And in her moment of clarity, she might even tell the children that daddy didn't do anything. So the children shouldn't be really bad against you. But do not take this woman back, because she will do it again. And if she doesn't do it again, at best, she will not respect you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a few of these videos anyway about these women saying such things. So my message to everyone today is, don't get involved in hookup culture. Don't sleep with so many people because you're not able to pair bond. Wake up and recognise each other. Know quite well that familiarity, shared experiences, predictability children are a lot more important than the butterfly. It's a terrible world that we live in. It really is. Carve out a little chunk and call it your own. Call it paradise. Hey, call it home. This is J. Benjamin Alpha. This has been a Drippin Reactions. I'll see you again.